Nathan Hunnisett. I work in an academy in Thurrock called Ormiston Park Academy, and my position is Director of Inclusion. I'd had quite a bit of experience working alongside youth at risk for 2 years previous to this. Really liked the work, really found it had made quite a lot of difference to the way that we'd work with the students in school, and I felt it was the next step forward for me to, I suppose, improve my development. So decided to sign up for the transformational coaching, and kind of it's made a huge difference to how I work and how I think and the way I live my life, really. For me personally, it was an extremely emotional journey. Knew I needed to have a look at my life and some of the things that had occurred in my life. Not really, I suppose, not really known how to do that, or really perhaps wanted to touch on stuff that was quite raw for me still, 30 years later. And the journey was knowing that some stuff would probably come up, being that Cara was there and I'd worked with Cara and seen how she'd worked with young people, to allow them to be reflective on how they'd lived their lives and what happened. So before I signed up, I kind of probably knew where it would go, and resisted probably for the first 2 days, and then knew that I was on the course to get something back for myself, and knew the only way to do that was to start to revisit stuff that was quite raw for me. And kind of day 2, day 3, really started to address some of the things that had haunted me through my life, and maybe limited where I was personally with my relationship, with my family, my children, my wife, but also professionally as well. The first morning on the course, we had to put a stand as to what you'd come to achieve, what you'd come to I suppose work out for yourself, and there was lots of frustrations for me around searching, continually searching, and never really finding an answer. So going through the process and working through the methodologies and through the course, and starting to be more reflective on me as a person, it kind of, everything seemed to come together at once, and the journey for searching had disappeared. Actually, there's nothing to search for. All of the answers that I'd been looking for were all within. I'd never really worked that out or realised that before. I spent a long time thinking that as a person I wasn't a good enough person. I didn't have what it took to be the things that I dreamed of being. And I think from the whole course, all of it as a I suppose a 4-day process, you come away with a sense of, I felt lifted and light, and everything is achievable, because actually I hold all the answers to where I'm going and what I do, and how I be responsible for that, and how I be in my life. And the impact for me has been at work. I know I'm much more effective in the job that I do now. I'm not continually looking at what I don't do and punishing myself for not being good enough. I reflect upon what I've done and look at the successes of the work that we do as a department and as a team in our school. I don't always look for how I could improve, what could I do differently, and then criticise myself in those ways. I'm much more reflective as a positive person and look for the positives of what we do and what I've done. In my relationship at home, I've opened up a lot more to my family, and I'm there, I'm much more present. I'm not hiding away from the kind of emotions that I'd buried. And I know it was never me that was not good enough. It was a situation that developed, and I'd spent a long time searching for why it had occurred and how I was responsible for that, and kind of realised, actually, do you know what, it was never to do with me. It was someone else's difficulties at that period in their time, period in their life. It wasn't me that had impacted on that, and I think that's allowed me to kind of drop that whole perhaps anger and frustration and the feelings of always just running to something, never being content ever in my life with anything that I've got. It's always the next thing. Whereas now I can kind of live contently. I'm happier at work, and there's lots of professional things I need to do. That I've got targets and actions to move forward, But my family life and my relationship with my wife is much, much, much better. I remember finishing the day and hearing everyone on the course say it's transformed their life. And you read books and you read kind of people's, I suppose, blurbs about things they've read, and it says it's transformed me as a person. And previously, never thought that was a possibility for me. As in, oh, well, nothing can transform me. As in, you are what you are. But now, you would go through an experience that you would never appreciate. There's some very uncomfortable moments, and there's some activities that you'll kind of think are a bit wacky and a bit weird. But it's not until you finish the programme that you see how it all comes together. And lots of those activities that we did I still do daily, and I know when I haven't done them, because my life is much more chaotic, it's not measured, I'm not living in the moment, I'm kind of stuck in the past, or I'm living in the moment now for the future, worrying about and anxious about things that are coming up rather than taking action now. You come back feeling very humanised, feel very relaxed, very kind of at one, as in you feel just very light and very just in the moment, just there living. And I've never felt that before ever, not that I can remember anyway. Just living. Life had been difficult in certain periods of my life. I think it's very easy to be very closed to lots of things and very dismissive of lots of people's ideas and ways of thinking. I think I've from that course learned to be very much more open-minded and to take on and look for the opportunities in everything that comes your way, rather than kind of looking at it as a problem or as a difficulty. Just searching for the possibilities that exist within everything, really, in every opportunity, in every situation and scenario we face. Something can come of that will take you forward. Not always obvious at the start, but it's certainly there. It's like hide and seek. You need to seek for it. You know, it's not just present. Sometimes you need to delve. And if you're interested in being much more of a reflective person and being much more aware, for me, the course did that for me. Yeah, it supported me very much in my everyday living and being.